The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors: Woodland Stud, New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred, Brecken Farms, Stonewall Stud, IRT, it's your horse and our passion, Australasian-wide Garrard's Horse and Hound, Ricciero Racing Stables, Lincoln Farms, the clubs Alexandra Park, Cambridge Raceway, Ashburton Trotting Club, Addington Raceway and Harness Racing New Zealand. It's box seat time again. Yes, a big thank you to our stable of sponsors. Michael Guerin off an exceptional night last Friday night at Alexandra Park. We build again into a big meeting there and head south. The big day, Diamonds Day down there. Looking forward to previewing their 4 big races as well.
Yeah, looking forward to it, Greg. Should be a great day in the deep south on Saturday, but Friday night was where it was at last week, and it was actually quite good fun because while the punters may not have initially enjoyed Self Assured and Sunday Sun being beaten, the smarties got after the horses who did beat them. Spankham heavily backed into in the Taylor Mile, and even more so Muscle Mountain. We'll talk later in the show about those odds and what unfolded there. This week, Gregory, are vastly different to Group 1s. The horses who drew poorly last week have drawn well this week. Does that mean they're over the line? I think there's a few more story threads to those big races than may seem obvious. We'll get into that tonight.
All right, let's get straight into the Dawson-Harford Limited. It is the Taylor Mile. Yes, an open race this year. Much like the race by Grins, we'll go through the entire distance over the mile. Here was the start. Hot and treacherous inside. Spankham using his early speed. What was surprising here, Michael, was AG's White Sox. No early speed. Krug getting left out wide. And as we see the tape roll on to the winning post, that's when there were a few problems back in the field. But once they settled like this, Spankham was always going to be hard to get past.
He was heavily backed. He opened at $5.50 and got into around 3.2. I don't think anybody, including Natalie Rasmussen, who we'll hear from shortly, thought she would get the lead quite that easily. Both Krug and AG's White Sox pulling out of the early burn. Cranbourne, welcome to Alexandra Park, Cranbourne. He rolls forward. And here's where things get interesting. Locked wheels for Krug. You can see him there. And South Coast Ardent ending their chances, ending Krug's campaign. Now, the horses back in the field, Self Assured and AG's White Sox, harshly affected by that when you consider they're going 152.2 speed. While all this is going on, the leader and the trailer, which how often we see this happen in big mile races, Gregory, they were getting away with a nice, easy, even split time, and that proved to be too much to catch up. Massive runs from back in the field we're about to see from Self Assured and AG's White Sox, and we'll also hear from Cam Hart about the Australia Majestic Cruiser, who was not quite as potent this week. Here's Aaron White with the Taylor Mile.
Now is going to be Hot and Treacherous right down the outside is Self Assured. It's Spankham in front. Hot and Treacherous comes strongly. Spankham, Hot and Treacherous. Self Assured is flying home. Spankham, Hot and Treacherous dives. Spankham. Spankham's a dual Taylor Mile winner. Hot and Treacherous second. Self Assured third. And a game run. Cranbourne fourth.
Well, that's just him, isn't it? Get to the lead, and always hard to run down when he can get a run like that.
Well, it is, Mick, and I think that run last week, tightened him up just nice. I'm sure he'll be better again after tonight because he's still quite chubby and he blew up over the back. But, that's his go. He's got super gate speed and he's a good mile horse, so that was his go tonight.
So there's a few more percentage points fitness-wise, you think, for next week?
I definitely think so, yeah. Just race hard, and it's like I think he improved off of last week to tonight, and I think he's got that much again in him, but I think he'll have to be by the sounds of how Self Assured went.
When a horse like him has an issue like he had last year, is it something you have to keep on top on, or is it a case that once it's fixed, he's fine?
Oh, we're just very aware. He has been sick, so we're aware that he has had that problem. He got really sick when he went to Australia. But it's just something keep an eye on him, just really look after him, and if he's not himself, you just back off.
Does it make you guys reluctant to maybe return him to Queensland, where the dust was an issue last year, your old home state, for this year, because that was the problem?
Not really, Mick. I think because he's just done nothing. What do you do with him now? He has these couple of races up here and then he's out, if he's all sound and well, I can't see why you wouldn't take him to Brisbane.
Apart from that, self-assured, nothing went right for him. It's going to be a video replay worth watching when you see that one.
Yeah, most definitely. That's what Tony Mark said, how good he went. So he's just a great little horse, and you reverse the draws, you reverse the result. So, yeah, he's a great horse.
Well, you handled Alexandra Park all right, but he might be better for the experience.
Yeah, I think so. That run should do him good. He was just a little lost and felt a bit awkward out there. So, normally he'd travel really well on his runs, and he just didn't sort of get up on the bit and really travel tonight. But I think he'd be better for it.
I saw you tapping him up at the 600, where clearly he's better than a 152 horse. Was it a case that he didn't know quite what to do with himself and where to aim?
Yeah, he was a little lost, even going behind the gate. Normally he'd be up, going and ready to go, and he didn't sort of want to follow through too well. And it was just awkward the whole way, and he's pulled up Harley blowing, so he had a bit left, but he just didn't sort of let down tonight. I think we're going right-handed the first time.
Will you and Jason have a discussion about maybe him being here next week?
Yeah, I think he'll come back. I think, the run tonight, he's had a bit of a look around, a bit of a feel for it, so I think he'll be better for it, and, there's probably a couple little gear changes we'll make as well.
Now you're doing some travelling. Are you starting to go business class, or are you still back in economy, just waiting for those points to build up?
Yeah, I have gone business a couple of times, but just whatever you can get at the moment. Everyone's wanting to come over here now, so whatever I can get, but business is nice.
Yeah, it is nice. A Majestic Cruiser will improve immensely off the back of that. 62nd Group 1 win since winning with Oh Baby back in 2012 for Natalie Rasmussen. Obviously, Spankham's now done the double, Michael, after winning it in 2019, and gets a rather unique situation, doesn't he, of potentially doing the double-double by going into this week's big race, the Messenger. He's been crawled a little bit by the draw, though. Gee, some of the stats out of this race, both AG's White Sox and Self-Assured breaking 54 seconds. That puts them in good stead for this week's target.
Yeah, he was super, Self-Assured. We'll get back to him in a second, but I think the punters were wised up to what may happen, and that was him back in the field, even though he didn't get as far back as maybe people thought he would, and Spankham up where he races best. There's no doubt Spankham's a good horse in front. That's their best version of Spankham. Surprised he got the lead quite so early, but once he was there was beating in the run. You couldn't have had enough on him. Thought he was Spankham. He was excellent. He was one pace, but at a very high speed. He doesn't seem to accelerate that much. He just keeps running at the same speed. Spankham, that's how he won a Miracle Mile. That's how he won this race 3 years ago. And I think there'll be improvement in him for this week. Hot and Treacherous, good to see him bounce back after a below par performance in the race, and he's taken that progressive step, Gregory, and really impressed by Cranbourne. Hard to come to Alexandra Park and perform to that level sitting parked. So a lot for them to sort of take away positively about his chances, not only in the Messenger, but in races like the Auckland Cup, and of course all the things available next season. Self-Assured, though, Greg, was the run of the race. We know that. Not knocked over, but had to do a swerve at 152.2 speed. I actually thought it was as good as I've seen him go at Alexandra Park. And, of course, he gets barrier 2 this week, Greg. So he picks himself, and he's going to be very, very warm. I thought the market the bookies opened, they had Spankham too long this week. With the improvement, with the fact that he is still able to come from off the speed, he's not as potent, but he still even has the gate speed to potentially head forward. He's $8.50, Gregory, and $2.20 a place. Now, when you marry that up with several other horses, like, for example, he's relatively close in the market, Greg, to South Coast Arden, who has a worse draw and less things that can go right for him in the race. For example, I can't see him getting the lead. I thought Spankham was actually backable for a place this week, Greg, but in a race where there's going to be a ton of money for Self-Assured after the race, after last week, and most importantly, after the barrier draw.
Yeah, followed up with both Brent White about Cranbourne. They were absolutely delighted, like stunning performance from him first up. Couldn't have gone any better, come through it nicely. A little bit cruel by the draw this week, and of course South Coast Arden. I spoke to Brent Mangus prior to the draw coming out, and he said, oh, you'll see a different horse this week, and then he's got barrier 8, so that's not going to make it easy for him. Cranbourne's a $16 chance, South Coast Arden $9. So Self-Assured opened $1.70, now I think he's into $1.60, Michael. Better Twist, interesting, barrier 1, she's going to get the marker run. I think she'd be a great top 4 chance. And AG's White Sox is overdue to get some luck, although now drawn where he is. He didn't show any speed last week, Michael, so I can't see a forward position for him. Therefore, it is Self-Assured's race to lose because he's got all of the cards this week, hasn't he?
Well, he has. Barrier 2's absolutely perfect. If you wanted to pick a barrier for him, barrier 1 would mean he had to bustle early, whereas there's a fair bit of gate speed here. Most of the gate speed, though, most of the big bang gate speed from AG's White Sox or Mark Dan are horses you would presume, not AG's White Sox, sorry, Spankham and Mark Dan are horses you would presume would hand the lead to Self-Assured, particularly because Spankham's had a couple of hard runs back to back. So I think he'll end up in front unless, and here's the unless, Brent Mangos decides to roll forward on South Coast Arden. He hasn't had a lot of luck recently. He might think to himself, our best chance is getting in front of Self-Assured. I think that's the key to the race, Greg. I think they'll burn relatively hard early, and then I would suggest most of the horses there would hand to Self-Assured, who hasn't been up against the marker pegs for a very long time in a race. It's been a long, long time coming for him. I think it would be too good in that situation. I'm happy enough to be taking $1.60, but I do think, Gregory, there's a few little fish hooks in this, just if somebody changes their intent at the start of the race. So the start's going to be crucial. What Brent chooses to do, probably more so than everybody else. But look, it's a really good, strong field. We lose Krug. Krug heads to the paddock. He'll spend 2 months there. Spoke to Crandall Giddy yesterday. He said, look, he just had enough. No luck last week, obviously. Just on Cran, by the way, his dear father, Jim, the funeral for Jim, the service will be next week at Addington, so not this Wednesday, next Wednesday, the 4th of May at 1 o'clock. Cran wanted me to pass it on to everybody, and everybody is welcome. And it's all about Faith is out too, Greg. So they're the two who come out, but we add Kango, who's in really good form, and again, he could be a factor early in the race, and as you mentioned, better twist. So it's actually, I think, Greg, a slightly better balanced race than last week, and I think a big sigh of relief from the Auckland Trotting Club and also HRNZ that they've had 2 10-horse fields, Gregory.
Yep.
I think going from the race, which was 9 but would have been 10, it was no one's fault, down to a 5 or a 6 would have got really messy. I think that having these as 10s and still having a free-for-all at Addington this week as well, Greg, suggests that with a little bit of tweaking, this autumn program can definitely work heading forward.
Yeah, no question about that at all. Congratulations to the connections once again with Spankham. He's a $1.745 million earner now, so great to see him back in the winner's circle. First time Alexandra Park, it was for Muscle Mountain. He was taking on the $1 million earner himself in Sunday Sun. Let's go back to the mile. Here was the start. And early speed, Temporale. We know he's got great speed. He's shown that both here and across the Tasman. Got across Muscle Mountain early, and Sunday Sun went back behind 5 Wise Men. So this is the way they settled. Now, sitting parked, Alexandra Park, first up. Never easy for any horse, let alone at free-for-all company. We'll transition this to the home straight where he wobbled around the bend, as happens quite often at Alexandra Park first up too. But once balanced up, he picked up Temporale. Sunday Sun couldn't catch him. Aaron White will bring them home, and then we'll hear from Ben Hope driving a winner for the first time at the park.
Oh, he had a wobble around the final quarter, balanced up, and he's going to career away. Muscle Mountain to beat Sunday Sun in the Trotters Mile, and they were followed by Temporale.
Well, it wasn't perfect, but it was pretty darn impressive.
It was pretty good, yeah. No, I was pretty happy. He didn't steer perfect, but he trotted really good, and he showed these Aucklanders what he can do.
Was he quite square? He wasn't touching himself anywhere actually in his gait?
No, he was good in his gait and that. I mean, steering-wise, we can fix that, but yeah, trotting-wise, he was good.
So what do you do steering-wise? Is there a pricker or a pole that might go on him?
Yeah, we might add a bit of a sharper pricker on him. I mean, Dad will know more than me. Dad will probably have a look at another replay, and, it's him and Mum's decision, but yeah, I'd say add probably an extra pricker on him.
Nobody did you any favours. You went to go forward, and Tony Cameron quite rightly said, well, I'm going to stay in front, and then you knew John was behind you. I saw you having a good old look. Did you just think to yourself, I'll stay here and try and keep up and keep in front of John?
Yeah, definitely. Especially over short distance, you need to stay in front of Sunday Sun. I've learnt that in the past. So, as soon as I saw him coming, I made sure that, I was aggressive.
The distances are going to get longer. Can he be as competitive with the horse he beat tonight?
Look, I think he is better over that shorter distance just at this stage, but he's still that good of a horse that he'll be competitive.
A lot of talk, I started some of it, about a trotting slot race. How does Ben Hope feel about the potential for, I don't know, 350, maybe 400,000 turning up at Cambridge next year?
Absolutely, yeah. No, we'd be full steam ahead. We love that idea.
Well, you've got an owner who doesn't mind buying slots. I'm picking it wouldn't be hard to sell one for the people involved in this horse.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, no, and we've got another little horse, Midnight Dash, who would be great for it as well. So, I think that's a terrific idea, and I think the trotters deserve it, to be honest.
155.5, 17th career win from just 28 starts. And Greg and Nina Hope, what a season they are having. Not even at the end of April, Michael, so not even a third of the way through, and they're already into the 30s, 32 wins for them. He's a gun. He's a very good horse over any distance, but he is extremely potent over the shorter course.
Greg, I've been going to Alexandra Park since I was 19, which is a long time ago. That's 33 years. I haven't seen a handful of horses do what that horse did the other night. That they don't turn up at Alexandra Park, ever, in major races. And while it wasn't a big stake, it was a major race. The best trotters in the country were there, with the exception of Bolt for Brilliance, and sit parked and win like that over a mile. Now, some great horses have tried to do that. Popular Realm came to Alexandra Park and couldn't do that. When they're out of their comfort zone at a mile where you need to be really sharp and apparently cornering well, not that it bothered him. And if he'd only beaten Temporale, well, that would be okay. You would say he's just better than them. But he beat Sunday Sun, who had no luck. But I don't reckon I've seen that level of debutante performance at Alexandra Park, Greg, more than a handful of times in those 33 years. And I thought about it a lot. Horses like Chicago Bull have come to Alexandra Park and done dramatic things, but they didn't sit park to do them. And La Cucaracha,
yep.
She got beaten in her first start at Alexandra Park. She ran one that Rowe Cup next up. Very, very, very few horses come to Alexandra Park in an open class race, sit parked and win on debut. He's a wonderful talent, an immense talent, and I would suggest for a race like the Great Southern Star, which is heats and final miles in the same night, I'm not sure he would cop those two things, I don't know. But he just jogs miles so easily, Greg. If there was that, all the horses in Australasia were eligible for the Great Southern Star in the race, he would almost be favourite.
Yep.
Because he has more gate speed than Sunday Sun, and we've said this now for a year. You want to beat Sunday Sun, you've got to get in front of him. So he's an exciting horse, Gregory. This week we have a huge question, huge for punters, at the start of the Peter Brecken Memorial National Trot. Does Ben Hope try the same thing and try and get in front of Sunday Sun? And does he stay there if he does, over 2,700? Or does he say, no, you're the superior stayer, the Rowe Cup's a month away, let's not give ourselves too bad a headache? I think, Gregory, it's time. It's time for them to say over 2,700, he's beat them over 26, let's stay in front. Because if we keep handing to Sunday Sun, he'll keep winning. And if we do get a headache this week and he just sits outside us and beats us, well, we've got a month to the Rowe Cup. We've got time to recover. I think that's the key to the race, and Temporale is a crucial component to that, because I'm sure he'll cross both of them. I'm absolutely convinced of that. And then you say, does Ben get the chance to follow him across and pin Sunday Sun in a disadvantageous position from barrier one? I think it's a fascinating contest, and as is so often the case in major harness races these days, Gregory, intent, what they intend to do, is going to be crucial to the outcome and crucial to that market.
Yeah, really interesting stuff, Michael. Thanks for the explanation. And just on our own TAB here in New Zealand, we do appreciate those odds coming out for us when we record on a Tuesday. Quite often it's not long after the fields are out, and with the public holidays, of course, recording on a Wednesday. Great insight there from Mickey G. The 49th National Trot with the Peter Brecken name associated to it will be a great race. Speaking of a horse that, well, he might be having a look at a slot race too, Highgrove. How good was he at Alexandra Park last Friday night? excellent performances just in behind. Here's Aaron White to bring them home. Have a look at the Rakiro horse storming home for 4th. But we'll hear from Robert Dunn, not only about this horse, but one of the great mentors in the sport that he worked for.
Flashing hard on the inside, the big boy Highgrove though holds her out. Highgrove to beat. Double Delight, a lovely return to racing. Mystic Max and working home well, Rakiro Blaze.
Well, he's just a big brute of a boy, and he's still got lots to learn, but geez, good Highgrove.
Yeah, he is, Mick, and the most pleasing part about it, he's getting really stretch smart now. Johnny said he's perfect behind the other horses on the second line tonight, which is great, and he's very easy to manoeuvre around the field and hit the line really well.
He looks like he's going to be even better over the Derby distance. Is that how you see it?
Oh, absolutely. He's a great staying horse. He's like most good horses. He's got this wonderful heart rate, and he's got a terrific recovery. So that's always a sign the further you go, the better they get.
Do you weigh the horses, Robert? Because for a 3-year-old trotter, he's a big lump of a boy.
Yeah, he is. We don't weigh them. We used to weigh them all the time, but the machine's not that accurate. Because I got on, I know.
Let's talk about this week. It's been a remarkable week for harness racing with the passing of your former boss, Jim Dalgetty. I can imagine working there, A, you learnt a lot, and B, you didn't have many days off.
No days off. Even when you played rugby, you had to come back and feed up.
In your footy boots?
My footy boots. I used to come home with the footy boots on, mud, all covered in mud, and feed up. But that was great because he was a super boss. He taught me so much. He's one of those bosses when you work for Mick that you asked the question, he gave you a great answer. Sometimes it took quite a while to tell it, but it was good.
What did you learn? What did working for a man like that teach you about, or have you carried into your training career?
Just about everything, really, because he was not only a good horseman, he was a great stockman. And when you're a great stockman, you learn to love horses and love animals as such. And that was the biggest thing. And I've always loved animals or horses since I've been with Jim. Taught me never to knock them around. Always, find a way of beating them without hurting them. And he said, if you can do that, you become a good trainer.
Yeah, brilliant insight there from RJ Dunn about the late Jim Dalgetty and the very smart horse Highgrove. 9 from 15 now. Excellent runs, Double Delight, Mystic Max and Rakiro Blaze are back in the field. And congratulations to Auckland too, offering that $200 incentive regardless of where you place for the maiden paces and trotters. I think it's being reflected certainly in that grade of getting some more horses to Alexandra Park. As we go to our first break, yes, she was back in town to watch her pride and joy self-assured rather. Jean Feast had a chat to her about that and a new donation she's making to protect the future of our sport. Well, welcome back to New Zealand, back to Canterbury now for you. Must be pretty special.
It's great to be back.
Yeah.
It's been a long time coming.
It has been. A couple of years of yearling sales, so I'm picking you've been quite busy getting around those youngsters.
I've seen this year's yearlings and last year's yearlings.
Have you liked what you've seen?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty happy, yeah.
All right. Any standouts that we need to look out for at this stage?
Not yet.
Okay. We'll let
Not
them
yet.
do the talking on the
That's
trial
right.
track, but you have had some at the trials, haven't you?
Yeah, and some more to come pretty soon, which is great. Yeah.
All right, let's go back to last Thursday and the race by Grins, and your guy, Self-Assured, delivered like we all hoped he would.
That's right. Yeah, it was pretty exciting.
Yeah. You were alongside SENZ, which was quite a nice synergy for the race because it gained a whole lot more interest from a lot of people outside of the sport. Is that part of the reason why you were happy to go with them as the slot holders?
Yeah, it was. I thought that they would be in a position to promote it, and with a horse like Self-Assured, I think they had something to promote as well. And I think it worked out that way.
Yeah, well, I know that Louis Herman Watt and Michael Guerin were parading the trophy around after the race meeting and just loving it.
Yeah.
And I understand it made it into their studio and it's become part of the furniture. So
yes, I know, it's been really great. Yeah.
What about the race itself, Jean? Were you comfortable? Did you think that the run he had was going to enable him to win the race?
I did. When South Coast Oden got to the lead, I was a little bit worried. But then just the way with all the moves and that, I thought, oh, he's still in with the show. Yeah.
What about the concept of the race? Did it capture your imagination like you thought it would?
It did. Prior to the phone calls coming, I never really had put any thought into it, to be honest. And then when I had some phone calls and that, I thought, well, I really need to think about this. And then it just built momentum after that.
Yeah. And what about in your homeland, in Australia? It seemed to get plenty of
it did,
coverage.
Yeah. I think perhaps because of the Australian horses, probably help.
Well, wasn't that the key? To have an Australasian race like the old Inter Dominion in many
that's
ways?
Right, yeah.
And a lot of those young gun Australian drivers, they have no fear, do they?
Yeah. No, that I think helped promote it, both sides.
All right, I understand as a result of him winning the race that you've come up with an idea, amongst a few others, of putting some money towards the future of our sport.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. How are you going to do that?
Well, I'm going to put some money for the
Kids'
kids'
carts?
carts, you call it. Yeah, we call it pony racing back home, but
Yep.
kids' carts, yeah. I thought it's to put some money in to help the kids, the future trainers and drivers, and give them some incentive to continue on, and hopefully they'll get the thrills out of it like we all do, watching them or perhaps being out there.
Yeah. Well, it's a wonderful gesture that you've made. I understand it's $20,000.
That's correct, yeah.
That'll be sorted out as to how it's going to be utilised. But I suppose from that point of view, you want to see it tangibly used, don't
That's
you?
right, yes. I want to see that it's somewhere where you can see it and they can realise that it's self-assured.
Yeah, that's got
it's
behind
coming
it.
from him,
Yeah. Well, you've already invested heavily in our sport, but to put something back into what is essentially the future, I'm sure it'll be gratefully received, and we look forward to seeing how it's going to be used.
Yeah, no, that's really great.
I never said anything nasty about Buster, but if he had this competitive instinct when he was racing, what could he have done? He was a very good horse.
Yeah, but he has to carry you around, of course. He's going to be a bit wary.
Oh! We might throw back to the studio now. Skeeter, Tim, I think I may have Bruce kidneys.
We'll take a look at the market while we compose ourselves here.
And Michael, that is why I walked back to the Return to Scale interviews for many years, Jay Bond. And didn't he cop it great, though? Not only was he lying flat on his back, he continued the broadcast. Outstanding.
Look, he's a great talent, Jason. He's someone I've had a lot to do with, and I think racing can get a bit serious sometimes, and you need a bit of humour. It can't all be speed maps and just talking about the horses. You need to enjoy yourself, and I think he's doing a really good job of that, and Trot's Vision's given him a home where he can be himself and you can bring people behind the scenes. He was talking there with Kima Frenning, who of course we know used to drive at the top level, and Kima's now one of the people behind the Hero program, which is the retired horses program out of Victoria, Greg. But yep, you can always there's always time to have fun at the races, Greg. It's for most people, let's never forget this, for 90% of people watching this show, it's a leisure activity. It's not what they do for a job, and I suggest Jay Bond doesn't become a professional horse rider for a job.
No, and Buster Brady played his part too, of course, formerly trained here by Kyle Austin. So it was very good humour. With Garrards, let's stick to Australia. Third win in a Bull Eye Cup for Cash and Flow. I was going to say the Cash Flow card, Michael. Win 38 in this remarkable horse's career. 150.1 in front. He loves him an Angle Mile.
He does, and you're right, Cash Flow card would have been perfectly fine too, because he just turns up and does this, particularly in the winter months. I spoke to Luke McCarthy about it on Monday, and he said, look, he's not up to the absolute best Miracle Mile horses anymore. But in the winter months, he's a far better horse. He said, we'll be staying home, no need to go to Queensland, try and reinvent the wheel. We'll just go round in the mile race at Menangle every week or every second week, and that'll suit him. They must do a great job looking after these horses, Greg. They have the water treadmills and the normal treadmills in the pool, do Belinda and Luke McCarthy. When you consider what they've done with Ultra Orlando, who's won a Group 1 this campaign, he's back in Sydney, and he's 10. And this horse going 150.1 and he's 9. Greg, clearly they know how to look after their horses, because King of Swing retired entirely sound off to start also at the age of 7. So Man, they do a great job with their team. And Cash and Flow, Greg, I would suggest that won't be the last time we see him on the box seat in the next 6 weeks.
No, bred by the Breckons, of course. Michael, last in that race was Need You Now, which is also with the McCarthys. Any update on that? Because she just hasn't lived up to it at all, has she?
I said to Luke, I said, this is a horse I thought was inch perfect for Menangle. He said,
Yep.
me too.
Yep.
Me too. He said, I just do not know what happened. First start, she got, she was just touching herself a little bit because she wasn't used to the speeds they race at over there.
Yep.
And Luke said, I'll work that out. Well, he hasn't. So he said, look, we're going to change her feed and we're going to change her work regime and just try and do something with her. If there was any stable in Australia I think could work her out, it would be Luke and Belinda. But
Yep.
I thought she would love Menangle Greg, and so far she hates the joint.
Yeah, so far you're not wrong there. Big day on Saturday down at Invercargill. It is Diamonds Day. It's their day in the sun, if you like. Looking forward to previewing these excellent races, Michael. The Alabar Southern Supremacy is the first one we're going to have a look at. Market has a beach ball at $1.90, $4.50 Map Major, $4 for Sandwave. Beach Ball's come up with a beautiful barrier draw of 3. He's been busy, Michael, but he's really becoming a well-rounded racehorse. Here was his win in the heat. He found the front for Brent Barclay, rolled along, dashed home in good time, and they couldn't get near him. 56-1, 27-1, that's Matt Major in second, but he'll be hard to beat this week from barrier 3, where he should be leading and just about winning.
I thought $1.90 was really fair, Greg. In fact, I almost went for him for bet of the week. I just not sure exactly how much pressure, if any, there'll be in the race. But let's not forget, he's a horse who went very close to winning a Northern Derby. Should be up against the marker pegs. A rugged horse who's raced the older horses plenty. There's just no reason not to pick him. I think he'll start shorter than $1.90, even though I like Matt Major and I really like Sandwave as a horse. Sandwave has beaten him fair and square before, but up against the marker pegs, Greg, over 2,700. He looks, I'm not going to say a good thing, Greg, but are you happy with $1.90? Because
Yeah, I am. He'll be in front, and therefore they've got to get past him, and we know how bold he can be in the lead. We saw that at Alexandra Park on his trip up there, and he was excellent winning at Invercargill last Friday, so I think he'll be extremely hard to beat again. Southland Oaks, another extremely time-honoured race. I think these races have both been going for almost 40 years. Let's have a look at Playfully. This is a race a couple of starts back for a few of those. Artie's Express got beaten for the one and only time, getting through on the inside of Joe's Rock, whose form's plateaued a wee bit, and Playfully dashing into third. Artie's Express has come up with barrier 2, and the bookies, Michael, have come up with $1.35. Joe's Rock's in 7 is an $8 chance, same price for Playfully. So they're the big 3 in the race, but Artie's Express has got a heck of a lot of favours this week, hasn't he, from the draw. And of course Team Telfer and Tim Williams will be looking to win this excellent race for $50,000.
Look, it's a great race, but it's a horrible dividend. Not that that'll probably be the closing price, but $1.35 when you consider you can cop $1.60 self-assured, you can cop $1.85 or $1.75 for Sunday Sun. You're getting $1.35 for a horse who isn't just absolutely certain to lead and be too good for them. As we saw there, she raced a bit one-paced on that occasion. I've got no reason to pick anything to beat her, Greg. I have absolutely no reason to back her at $1.35. So maybe it's a watch this space race. Don't forget, of course, you can always back a horse like Playfully, Greg, if you like it, to run top 2 or win insurance, or those sort of options are available for you, because I absolutely could not recommend to anybody to back Artie's Express at $1.35 because she'd be $1.20 in a maiden.
Yep.
So there's too much depth there, Greg, for that. But I agree, she should win.
Yep, and Playfully, I think it'll be a great each-way chance. I think she can win it again for Regan Todd and Robbie Close. She's a good filly, so it won't be easy from out there, but she is a very talented type. Let's have a look at the 2-year-old feature, which is the Diamond Creek Farm 2-year-old Classic. This is actually for $60,000, so the richest race on the day. Don't Stop Dreaming won the kindergarten, gets through on the inside. Olivia Thornley, we know the story there. Comes up with barrier 8 this week. There were some big runs in this, Michael. Out wide Da Vinci in the Craig Ferguson colours, doing an excellent job. Getting through on the inside late and being held up. Unfortunately, drawing poorly this week. The Black Flash for Nathan Williamson gets itself into 4th. And of course, 3rd place getter there, OK Boomers, come up with barrier 2. The other interesting runner, Michael, is Vinca B, who's a Vincent 2-year-old colt out of Invercargill, also trained by the Purdon Cullen stable. I spoke to Natalie about him. She said he's really improving, and I watched his most recent trial, and he went very, very nicely, thanks very much. So it's an interesting go. Don't stop dreaming from the outside draw, 2,200 metres, obviously for the first time, and $1.45. I got it when he drew 1 that he needed to be that short, but it will not be easy from out there.
No, it won't be. And we don't know enough about the horses, not just him, all the others, to say he's a legit $1.45 chance. It's a no betting race for me at this stage. That may absolutely change by Saturday once the market starts to change. Over the last 5 years, the best all-star juveniles, and he might be the best of them, Greg, I don't really know yet, they've tended to win barrier draw irrelevant. They just tend to turn up and win, but I'm not taking $1.45 to find that out. So I think you've been given a real chance by the bookies with the Beach Bull race. I don't want to get involved in these 2 races yet. And that's not putting people off having a bet. Let's not forget, by the time we get to Saturday, a lot's going to change, and then you have options around 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and of course power plays and that sort of stuff as well. So not saying because you shouldn't be back in this to win, Gregory, that you should have a bet in the race. Is he the best of their juveniles? As much as I can tell, Greg, but we're talking about the first chapter of a very long book here.
Yeah, we absolutely are, including the Sire Stakes, which is held on Cup Day for these horses. And at this stage, they've opened up a bookies, $2.20, Don't Stop Dreaming, Merlin $3.60, Beckham $4, Sevi $6.50, and even Vinca B there's $13. So there's a few new markets out there. Go to tab.co.nz, have a look at those future markets, and check out one that you might want to back longer range. Regent Carcourt Southern Cups Final. This is for $30,000. Here's Warlock winning last week, beautifully rated by Samantha Otley. Michael, they got home in 54.6, just dashed away. It was career win number 13 for him. He does go back 20 metres for this, although he started off that last week. He was excellent beating Love on the Rocks, and I reckon he'll be hard to beat again, although the race pattern might not work out exactly like it did. She only went a 2:12 mile rate, so when you're able to get away with that and you've got a fast horse, it makes it very hard to catch you.
I think Michael House, or whoever's working for him in the south, have found the key to Warlock. I didn't think this version of Warlock existed a year ago, and it was knocking around Alexandra Park. Did have some good wins there, Greg, but I think this Country Cup circuit's working really well. Like we saw the big final 2 weeks ago at Addington, and now we see a $30,000 race this week. And I think it increases the chances of us keeping these horses in the country, because you probably couldn't sell them for much more than 50 or 60 anyway. And if they're consistent, you can win that money with them, Greg. So good circuit, really enjoying it. What odds Warlock should be, I have absolutely no idea. But wonderful to see it racing so well. And as I said, Greg, real strength for our industry are these cups, because I think they're worth about 10,000 more to people, Greg, than the stake. As a small town boy myself, if you can win your local cup or win any cup, Greg, I just think it means more to people than winning the handicap pace. I think people love them. They like drinking out of the cup usually. So I think they're good things. And I love the series. Do I have an opinion on the race? Absolutely not.
Yeah, great day down there on Saturday afternoon. Looking forward to tuning in to all of the action from there. We're about to take a short break here on Your Box Seat, brought to you by your stable of sponsors. On the other side, we'll get a profile on another young junior driver, and there's an ownership opportunity out there for you via Lincoln Farms. Well, your dad's been in it all his life. I suppose it was always going to be part of yours.
Oh, yes, no, definitely, Greg. I love it. I've been coming to Addington since I was just a wee kid.
Junior drivers ranks, win number one came at the mighty Manawatu, where the stables won a couple of hundred races over the last 3 or 4 years, so I suppose that wasn't surprising either.
Yeah, no, I'm getting a great opportunity with Dad. He's taking good care of me and supporting me, and I'm very lucky.
Carrera Lucia, the winner, the first winner for you, after that Blair Orange just kept knocking you off. It happened about 3 or 4 times, didn't it?
Oh, look, Greg, on my first night I let out twice and he just got me on the line both times and I got him back in the end.
Well, given your love for the horses and obviously you travel with them and you get up to the Manawatu, and it's an exciting time in your life, isn't it?
Well, look, it's a great trip and a lot of cool people and a lot of important people to make them happen.
When you were at school, were you a reader of the books, or were you more interested in what's happening at Addington this week?
It was a bit of both. I'd switch between both tabs a wee bit.
I bet you would. And how the teachers cope with that?
Oh, they loved it. They were always asking me for tips.
What about the future for Wilson House? What would you like to achieve, particularly as a junior, and is this a job for life for you?
Look, I honestly don't know, Greg. I'm definitely looking at the veterinary university at the moment, and I've got a lot of opportunities there, and I'm looking into it, and I'd love to do it. But I'm just going to see how things turn out.
You're having great fun. I can tell that you're well liked amongst your peers, so you keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Greg.
So obviously immensely talented Wilson House, looking to go into the veterinary work potentially, and he's doing well enough on the racetrack to continue that on for a wee while yet too. Lincoln Farms, great supporters of racing, both codes, and of course of this show. They have an ownership opportunity for you, a little bit like Stonewall last week. This is at a higher level, but when you see the breeding of these horses, Michael Guerin, both by Bettor's Delight, out of Gallion's Chair, you know, the family chair, the lady, and out of Safedra, those opportunities there for you with the fixed monthly training fee. Look, if 10%'s not your go, I'm sure that you can talk to Ian Middleton and the team there about that. The details are there for you. Go to ian@lincolnfarms.co.nz. Speaking with Ian, they've got about 14 two-year-olds ready to race or go to the races very shortly. Look, the upshot of Lincoln Farms is they want you to have a winner. Therefore, they're not taking horses to the races or offering ownership partnerships, they call them, unless they can win a race. And Michael, if you don't win a race, they will guarantee you will, and they'll put you into another horse. Well, you can't do any better than that.
No, it's a wonderful thing John has set up with the other guys there, because they've taken all the risk out of it for you. And those two horses there, that's the top of the tree type breeding in this part of the world. In a couple of years' time, people will wish they had had a Bettor's Delight colt, because they'll be gone. There'll be no more Bettor's Delight, and we'll think the end of the greatest era. So this is a chance to get into those, and most importantly, Greg, they use good drivers. I don't want to have a horse trained by someone who uses bad drivers. They use good drivers. It's crucial.
Yep, it certainly is. And Ray Green, we know his exploits as a horseman, very, very talented. All right, hits and misses from last week via the TAB. Lumen Shaley, one of about 5 winners for Natalie Rasmussen over the week. Well backed at Addington Thursday night. Spankham was, someone had 1,500 at 350. Muscle Mountain into $1.90. Was still happy to take the 5,000 there. Frankie Major came unstuck at Alexandra Park and got as short as $1.35. I think he was about $2.50 on opening, and Cheesel getting beaten on Monday at Ashburton off a pretty horrible draw. So that's the TAB hits and misses this week. What about where we race around this great nation here this week? And we kick things off with the Waikato Bay of Plenty Harness Racing Club. 5:16 is the start time there on Thursday night. Alexandra Park, they've ended up with the 8 races, so an later start of 6 o'clock for them, with those 2 Group 1 features both at $100,000. Addington Raceway have an excellent program. They've actually ended up with 9, 5:24 the start time there. Then we go to Invercargill on Saturday. Huge program, 11 races for them, and they do kick off at 11:50, so the same start time there, and you've heard all about those Group 2 features. And then Rangiora have the Waimakariri Businesses Winter Cup, which includes some pretty smart horses. Field's just not out as we do this recording. Sugar Me, Got You Covered, those types of horses potentially going around in that. So a very interesting few days ahead, Michael. Addington Raceway's free for all. has a good field. Shan Noble, Darling Me, Cully's Delight. Where would you go if you had to lay your wedge out of those three, Michael?
I thought Darling Me had a really good chance of potentially staying out of the early burn, then getting to a handy position. But Shan Noble was really good 2 starts ago. Had a look at it, Greg. Nice race. Going to be odds dependent. They put up Shan Noble $2.20. No, they put him up $4. Yes. So I'll wait to see how the markets come out for that one. But well done to Matt Peden and the other bookmakers getting those Group 1 markets out nice and early on a Wednesday morning.
Yeah, the BC Plumbers about now, Fillies and Mares handicap trot. You keep calling for Fillies and Mares races. Gold Chain, My Moments Now, Time Up the Hill. These are the types of horses we're keeping in the country that you keep talking about.
Should have happened 20 years ago.
It's happening now.
But the trainers have to support them.
They do.
It's crucial, and we're getting support for them now. And also good to see that 3-year-old trot last week at Alexandra Park get good support. Trotters,
this
Gregory.
week, unfortunately, Michael, couldn't get that one off the ground this week, but there are some big races ahead for those trotters.
Yeah, there is. And Double Delight was really good last week, so at least there's a rival there for Highgrove. And Masterly, who you were tipping on the radio on Sunday, super impressive
Nice
down
horse.
there at Geraldine. Hey, by the way, bet of the week last week, it went Spankum. Not often, the bet of the week wins and pays $5.50, Greg, so that's huge. Well done to you. It's a big Group 1 too. What have you gone for this week?
I've actually gone for invitation only at Addington. It's in the last race. Love the way this horse came through its preparation last time. It's trialled really nicely. Should be a big night for the Cran and Chrissy Dalgetty barn there too. They have their smart 3-year-old, Michael, whose name's just jumped out of my head.
Republican Party,
Republican
Gregory.
Party.
Republican Party.
Yeah, there's actually a few resuming. The likes of Harold Smith, who did a good job in the trotting ranks. So, yeah, looking forward to that. What about for you? I know you've gone with Self Assured, but he's relatively short. So have you got another one for us?
Look, I've gone for Self Assured. I wasn't sure what they're going to open him when I did my picks on Tuesday night. His record up against the marker pegs is astronomical. Check out hrnz.co.nz on Friday. There'll be a story coming on that. It's barely believable, to be honest. I could have just as easily gone Beach Ball, could have easily gone See You Do It in the last race, but if I was having my own big bet this week, it would be on Self Assured, and hence he is my bet of the week, even though $1.60 is a bit tight.
All right, massive day on Saturday down at Invercargill. Jason Broad has gone for Tommy Waterhouse, race 11, number 8, and we thank him for his selection. Michael, what's the one race this week you're most looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to the Messenger because I'm not sure what's going to happen at the start, but I think the most intriguing battle is this thing between Sunday Sun, Muscle Mountain and Bolt for Brilliance. Do they eventually say, now, we're not going to keep handing up to you? I'm not sure. Looking forward to finding out.
Yep, I am too, and we'll wrap it all up in a week's time. But from Michael and I, it's bye for now.